Welcome welcome back to Maximum Viable Product. So, I am your host for this episode, Tiffany Wortham. We are going to be rotating who hosts the podcast.
I'm still
this
here.
Is my episode. So Aiden is here. Yes, it is me and also all of my lovely teammates.
I'm here.
If they would like to introduce
I'm
themselves.
here.
Josh is here.
No, Josh is here.
Josh is here.
Josh is here. This is Josh.
Jenna's here.
Jenna is also here. Yes.
There's Jenna.
Okay, but are you really
Aiden?
here?
I am.
Tough to say. We're honestly not sure. It's debatable.
I'm here too,
Okay.
Aiden. Yeah.
Very good. And all of us are software engineers on the Script Runner for Confluence team. Welcome back. If you have not seen the first episode, if you haven't seen the first episode, just blank there for a second. If you haven't seen the first episode, I can give you a brief synopsis of what this podcast is indeed about.
Yes.
Essentially, what we are endeavoring to do right now is we created a project that is going to hopefully make hack days a lot easier to run and be planned and be participated in.
Yeah.
Like a software project.
Yeah, a software
Yeah,
project. Like we're creating a platform that is going to allow people to just manage hack days better.
Yeah.
And this is what it's all about. So, yeah.
I like the word you use, endeavoring. We're
Yes, endeavoring.
Yeah,
We are indeed
It feels like
endeavoring.
very like moon landing, very like it's like
Yeah, we're blazing a trail, honestly.
Yeah.
One
where
small
where
step
no one
for hack
else
days.
has gone before in
Yeah.
Adaptavist, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So another thing that we do is we have a cocktail of the month every episode. And we're going to get more into it later, but I do want to let Jenna introduce it just so we know what
She's
the
been
name will
hiding
be.
the name from us.
Yeah, she's been hiding the name from us. She did not tell us before we started recording. So we don't even know what the name of the cocktail of the month is.
Yes. So the cocktail of the month this time is named the Apple Mimosa.
That sounds a little tastier
That
than
sounds
spicy
refreshing.
grapes and
All right. Well, you know.
It kind of gives away what's in it, but hopefully everyone enjoys it.
Okay.
I mean, I think
I'm
it sounds
looking forward to that.
amazing.
Yeah.
It already looks palatable. It looks nice.
Yeah,
I don't know
nice.
if this might not be in view of the cameras. I'll just hold it up here.
Yeah.
There it is.
It looks nice.
Little
Yeah.
bubbly, a little this, a little that.
Would you say it's
little
more like a
something?
fall drink or more like a summer drink?
Oh, yeah.
Good
I would
question.
say it could be summer or fall.
Oh, okay.
Well, a bit of a
flexible.
fusion because we are kind of in, like a period of transition between summer and fall. So kind of like easing us in there.
Well,
Yeah.
and soccer moms drink mimosas basically every day of the season.
right. So it's like,
If
it
this
doesn't really
is kind
matter
of a
this season.
mimosa, yeah. So, yeah, that makes sense.
No, pretty good. Wow. So we will get to taste this later during our actual cocktail segment. Just wanted to, know what it was, hear the name. But at this point, I think that we are ready to jump into our retrospective.
What the heck is that?
Yeah, good question, Aiden. So, for those of you that may not know, in the agile world, a retrospective is basically a meeting where you come together and you look upon the work that you have done for the last sprint. If you don't know what a sprint is, for our team specifically, it's a period of 2 weeks where we tried to get, we committed to getting a certain amount of work done. And so a retrospective is looking back on that time and talking about what went well, what didn't go so well, and maybe what we could do differently. So-
Although, what is the bounds of the retrospective for this project?
Oh yeah, for us it's about the last month. So our little sprints are a month long.
They're big sprints.
Yeah, they're big sprints,
yeah.
big
ones.
juicy
Yeah.
sprints.
We're not working
big
the whole
juicy sprints.
They are
month
Texas
long.
size.
Yeah,
sprints.
no, we only get, so to be clear, we get about 4 hours a week to work on this since it's a part of our professional development. So our sprints are actually 16 hours long. They're a month long, but also they're 16 hours long. So
One of those days is recording the podcast.
Yeah.
and one
Right,
of those
yeah,
days is
that's
recording
today.
the podcast. So
Yeah.
honestly, I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to get done each sprint in that short amount of time. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with 12 hours of work.
yeah.
For a second, I was second guessing whether or not I did that math correctly.
Yeah, no, 12.
4 times 3.
You are correct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was like, oh my God, I'm going to look like an idiot.
No, I think that checks out. I think that checks out. But yeah, I mean, who wants to start us off on, we'll talk about what went well first.
I would love to start because there's so many things went well to me.
I agree.
Number one thing that went well, surprisingly well, was sort of the system design around. So the Hackday platform revolves around the concept of events within the platform. So like you may have a Hackday event or multiple events within a company running at the same time, but to sort of set up that data model and create some architecture to deal with like that event system, we sort of started doing that, and I think it turned out a lot easier and a lot better than I imagined that it would.
Yeah.
go. I feel like we got a really good data model, planned out.
Well, and
we haven't actually used it yet, but
right, yeah.
But we've got it.
And it was kind of cool to go and go around the room and whiteboard and sort of debate what the data model should look like and draw it out on a whiteboard. So I thought that went really well.
Well, and I think a part of that system design was so easy because we literally, we didn't have to do any back-end system design.
Yeah.
Because of, what is it we're using, GraphQL?
Yeah,
or
GraphQL, which is new to us.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
you and Tiffany have both done something with it before.
Yeah.
But me and Jenna haven't.
Yeah. And it's we do have to do some back end system design, but we don't have to actually the way that we were doing it was literally just very much in the UI, typing in okay, I want I don't even know how to describe it, just incredibly easy.
Well, yeah, what is GraphQL? How does that work?
So it's a way of interfacing with the APIs you create. It's a querying sort of language. So the old paradigm of having multiple REST endpoints, which you probably would ask, what's a REST endpoint? But
what's a REST endpoint?
it's how the whole internet works.
Whoa.
But GraphQL provides this way of really allowing you to easily interact with all the APIs you want to develop and pass your data between the front end and the back end. And it makes it so easy to do. So I think so, at least. Mm-hmm. I mean, that being said, we haven't really integrated the GraphQL technology framework into our app quite yet, but I feel like it's gonna be not too bad to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anyone else on what went well?
Oh, I mean, I also just agree. I really enjoy whiteboarding and doing that sort of system design stuff. Specifically when we're talking about system design. Mm-hmm. And even small projects, software projects specifically, when you're, trying to figure out how everything interacts with each other, I feel like even in small projects, the scope of what's going on behind the scenes blows up really, really quickly. Mm-hmm. Because, you need a front end, you need a back end, you need a lot of different ways to interact with it. And so, you do system design because beforehand you kind of want to have, it's like storyboarding for a movie or a TV show or something. You want to understand, how at least vaguely things are going to interact with each other, how we're going to be interacting with the REST endpoints or GraphQL and all that other stuff. And, what our things are going to look like and what buttons we want to be in place and how we're implementing those and all that jazz. And I don't know, I just feel like I always have a really good time just doing whiteboarding and drawing stuff, and it makes it a lot easier to just, because it's hard to keep track of everything just in your brain, I feel like, while you're doing it, because it can blow up so quickly. And so just throwing things, even, I mean, if you looked at our whiteboard right now, it's off camera over there. It does not look good, but just being able to put things up there, even though they look like a mess, kind of helps get things organized. And I don't know, I think that's really useful.
Yeah, just one comment on what you said about system design is, I think to me, I was so happy that it kind of showed me how much we've grown and matured as engineers, having worked together for so long. The idea that we know enough not to plan too much, but we know enough to plan just enough to get us going and not, architect something that's going to be totally thrown away within a couple, development cycles.
Right,
so
yeah.
I thought that was cool, the way we approached it and the way we thought about, how should we plan this? How much should we plan? How far should we get ahead? Mm-hmm. How far should we not? I like that.
Well, and specifically the part that we were designing was what I think is probably one of the largest chunks of what we have to do.
Yeah.
Because we were working on how you actually if somebody is maybe coordinating an event or a hack day event, how are they going to be able to create a new event within the product or within the platform, and what information does that have to have? And that's kind of like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what everything else revolves around, is these events. And so that's what we were designing. And I think we discovered that it was there was a lot less to it than we thought there would be. It's just like thinking about all of these independent parts in your head at the same time, it can get, like I said, it can get overwhelming. But then when we wrote down the list of things that we thought an event might need, and we narrowed that down to a list of things that we thought were necessary for this minimum viable product or maximum viable product, then it was a list of, I don't know, like 6 things that we thought an event needed to have included with it when we create it. Yeah. And that was way simpler than I thought it was going to be. So I feel like that went really well.
Yeah. And, along with that and kind of what Josh said earlier, like the growth that that he can tell that we've undergone just by like knowing, how to plan enough and not try to plan too much. Like I could really see us doing this a few years ago and it being so complicated.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and us just sitting there like, what the fuck?
Because we would definitely like over architect it.
Yeah.
I think we would definitely err on the side of over architecting and like trying to think of everything and like trying to have everything like in the first go and
then
not
maybe
being
just giving up.
Yeah, and then maybe just giving up and just not being incremental enough about it and just like having, basically having our eyes bigger than our stomachs or
Right,
whatever
yeah.
the saying is,
For sure.
But I feel like we really have a very good balance now. And if we start to do that, we say, well, hold on a minute. Like maybe we don't need all of this right now. Maybe this could be like a V2 kind of thing. Let's just get this stuff down first. And I mean, that's essentially what you said, but I feel like I've noticed that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely could not have done this like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I
that
know.
would not have happened.
Yeah, I don't think so. Don't think so. Jenna, do you have anything?
So for me, I mostly worked on building out a basic like sign-in page.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that went okay.
Mm-hmm.
I continue to think that Amazon's documentation is terrible. So.
Yeah.
But overall, like, I have a basic thing that kind of works. So,
Well, and you had we were all dicking around and like writing things on a whiteboard while you were doing actual development work. And,
Right.
Doing the hardest thing out of everything that we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
it's all right. It turned out okay. And it's there.
I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it looks good the way it is now.
I mean, there's no Adaptavist orange on it yet,
No.
as far as I'm aware.
there is.
Oh, there is?
Oh,
Yeah.
so apparently you haven't seen it lately.
It's orange.
Yeah, that's why I said
Aiden,
that.
do you
Yeah.
not know what's going on in the app?
Well, I was just so busy whiteboarding and system
Right, just
designing.
whiteboarding
it's
away.
just-
Yeah, the last day I spent like probably an hour trying to read through the documentation to figure out how to actually add themes to it, which
Yeah.
was not fun.
Well,
but
and didn't you mention, it seems like we now have 3 things that are supposed to take care of theming. And it's gotten really confusing. Like, theming is provided through AWS now with that login thing. And theming is provided through Material UI. And theming is provided through, what is it, Enzyme? Is that what it's
Yeah.
called?
Styled components?
Yeah, the styled component.
Yeah.
And they each have their own theme provider things. And what I mean by theme provider is something that allows you to create common colors and themes that are used across the website. And now they all have separate ones, and it seems like they don't really all work with each other.
yeah,
So
they don't work together at all.
yeah, that's
very
really
frustrating.
annoying.
Yeah, I think that's something interesting, like the proliferation of all these libraries we're adding, and whether we're giving ourselves a headache and trying to work with all these different sort of design systems and theming utilities. It is interesting. We're making progress, but we're also sort of adding on more and more garbage.
Yeah.
I think we're
Right.
understanding
Not garbage,
how
but
how tech debt happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
you
because
make these early decisions, and then you end up with 5 different theming.
for years we have made fun of the previous people who worked on script
Yeah,
writer
because
for
we were.
Confluence.
Oh yeah, we were like, this is garbage.
This is ridiculous.
God, we gotta clean this shit up.
But they were putting it together pretty quickly, and we're doing their own thing. thing, and
Yeah.
it
It worked.
It works,
For the
and it
most
works
part.
really well.
Yeah.
We don't even know if ours is going to work. Like,
Right.
we can't even get a login page completely working because it turns
Mm-hmm.
out this is hard. And so I don't know. It's just I kind of maybe I feel a little bad.
Yeah,
for,
you empathize with them a little.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
gotta give them a little credit, you
Right,
know,
yeah.
at
For sure.
least.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes once you get something to work, you just like want to stop doing anything on it, even if you have added tech debt.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm done for now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we already have tech debt.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to-dos already
Certainly.
listed places in the code.
Yeah, it's
Like-
it's crazy how fast it'll happen.
Yeah.
And even with a project that isn't that big,
It doesn't
like
even
this,
do
it's
anything
like-
yet.
Yeah, it doesn't even do anything yet, and yet, like, you know, that's just like there's always going to be something to be worked on.
Right,
Some,
yeah.
Some tech debt to address. You know.
And it's
something.
like it's kind of that the perfect is the enemy of the good. You know, the podcast is called Maximum Viable Product, and that's making fun of minimum viable
Right.
product. And really, though, we are working towards a minimum viable product.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be perfect. We just want it to work, and then you improve on it. That you iterate and you improve on it. Then and
right.
Yeah. I think tech debt can be leveraged appropriately. And also, you think about it, like, the U.S. has a lot of debt. So,
So you know,
It's doing great.
if you make the connection, and, you know,
yeah,
it's,
so like, we just have like 30
We can
trillion
have
in
debt.
debt. We're like fine, right?
right, exactly. So
I think Adaptavist will be fine if we rack up a little bit of debt for our
Yeah, a
little
little-
side project.
we're like, where's all this coming from? Don't know how we would do that, but
So I guess this leaked into a little bit what didn't go well.
which, well, here's the thing: is I did for what did go well. I did also want to talk about how we did some stakeholder interviews.
Oh, yeah.
and that used a fair bit of our time this sprint also. Yeah, I feel like those went very well. Josh, if you want to talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, so with Hack Days in our current company, we've been doing them for several years, and there's always been one person who's been deeply involved in planning and managing Hack Days, and that's our CTO, John Mort. So in trying to make this Hack Day platform, we thought it was best to talk to the actual person who has been involved in so many of them and try to get his feedback on what he'd like to see in our platform and the things he's struggling with managing the current Hack Day scheme. So we had an interview with him, and I thought that went really well. It was sort of gratifying to see how many things overlap between what he said and what we already had sort of came up with as people who have participated in these events before. And then we had a separate stakeholder interview with some of the Hack Day committee members. So, and that, yeah, same sort of themes. My takeaway is people want to be empowered to do things. Technically, they're already empowered, like, in the organization. Like, they have permission to do these things. They have, like, the authority to do things with Hack Day. But technically speaking, they don't have much power to really make the event what they want it to be. So
Right.
we interviewed them. We got a lot of good feedback. I think we're going to incorporate a lot of their ideas. But for me, I thought, like, my takeaway was, like, empowerment. Like, we want to empower people to do the most.
And we want to like commit to Hack Days actually being a larger part of our company culture
Yeah.
instead of just
Right.
kind of like, oh, we know we want to do this, but every time it ends up kind of being an afterthought and we're a little unprepared is kind of the consensus I feel like we got from those stakeholder interviews. I feel like they go pretty well every
They
single
do.
time.
Yeah,
They do.
Yeah.
But I think it is hard on the people who are running them.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
Yeah. Because they basically have to the amount of times that they have come up with a new voting system, like
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are different every year that seem to be, like a lot of decisions are made sort of on the fly, kind of thing like that. And they're still amazing to participate in. But I think that it's just, from the perspective of like the committee and the people organizing it, like, we want to make it easier on them. And
Yeah.
like you said, we want to empower them to be able to make it what they want easily,
Right.
I also kind of like the idea that we're accountable to someone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
I
like,
feel
you
like
know,
we need to be.
Yeah, we're getting
Yeah.
paid to do this.
We do, yeah.
as Tiffany said, we have like maybe 12 hours of development time a month to work on it. So, I mean, it's going to take a while, but it's still good to have someone like sort of in the back of your mind as like, it would be really good if we worked a lot harder to like get this out for that person. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say after those interviews, I felt more
Motivated.
motivated and a little bit more pressure. 'Cause it's like,
Pressure, yeah.
because
For
it's-
sure.
There is this is now turning into a thing.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
now
and people
there's-
want this.
Yeah, and so now there's some real pressure to actually get it done and for it to not be terrible
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not look awful. Which is scary because
Yeah.
we've never done anything like this before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little healthy pressure. I feel like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. But no, yeah, I would have to agree with that. But I would also say that it's exciting and it's a lot of pressure, but it's pretty cool to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's good to know that what we're making is actually going to be like used.
Yeah.
And that people
want it.
Yeah.
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 And it's like solving a real problem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And
I
you-
think that's cool.
You mentioned that it was gratifying that a lot of the feedback they gave us about what they want the platform to be and what things they want to be able to do kind of overlapped with, what we kind of already had in mind. And I was just going to point out that is, I feel like that's one of the biggest benefits of doing stakeholder interviews and why it's so important is because it turned out that a lot of stuff overlapped.
Yeah.
But we also, we have a very particular perspective. We've been in a lot of hack days. And so we have a larger view of kind of what these have been over the course of adaptivist history, I guess, or hack day history. But, other people from different perspectives, especially people maybe who this is their first hack day, they'll probably have a very different perspective than people who've been doing it for a while, and then people who don't participate at all versus people who manage them. Like those are all very different perspectives, and all of those stories, I guess, for the users need to be taken into consideration when putting something like this together. So I'm excited to interview more people if we get the chance. I know we want to have people on the podcast to interview, maybe as a stakeholder interview, or maybe just to discuss some of these things with.
Yeah.
And that could be cool.
I mean, just philosophically, I think engineers should be closer to their customers than they normally are. Like right now, we have a product manager, so there's like a little bit of degree of separation there. But it was kind of cool to be directly involved with the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, they're not paying us to make it.
Well,
for
we
them.
are
But
getting paid.
the stakeholders,
Yeah, we are getting paid.
the people concerned.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
it is cool to be working with the user or customer directly as
Yeah.
an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, a lot of stuff went well, as you guys can tell. I had quite a bit to talk about there.
Which is funny because I think starting the month, we were really worried we'd have nothing to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, shit.
You're like, what do we even...
Yeah, what do we get?
But
We
we
only
always-
did stakeholder interviews? Oh, God.
No, we love flapping our gums. Like, I don't think it matters what we did. Like, we will always have...
There's always something.
There's always something to talk about. So, yeah. But now we can move on to, and we already sort of started talking about this a little bit, but we can talk about what didn't go so well. And I mean, I think for me, configuring single sign-on in Amplify Studio was a little rough. And yeah, I initially tried to like get that working, and I thought that I kind of did, but then like we used my personal account because we didn't have access with the Adaptavist accounts yet, and then we were given that, and so then Josh did it again, but it's like still not working, and that has been kind of frustrating, honestly.
Yeah, so we want our Hack Day platform to be as usable, as easy as possible. You should be able to go in there and just click log in immediately and get started using the platform. So to do that, we need to integrate single sign-on with our existing IT infrastructure with like everyone's regular Google Adaptavist accounts. And it's something we need to do. We need to have this.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
So that's what makes it frustrating.
It's not an optional thing.
So like right now it's not working. It's having some errors going on there. And it's bad because it's almost sort of a blocker because it's not something that we can really just put as tech debt because we kind of have to have it.
We need to have users.
Yeah.
People have to be able to log in.
Yeah, pretty
for us
basic.
to even really be able to
Yeah.
test things properly.
I mean, I'm not a genius or anything, but we need users.
yeah. At the very least.
So that's frustrating. I hope we get it worked out in our next development session. I have confidence we will.
Well,
but
although
so.
we haven't, we're trying to set up right now a basic single sign-on. But aren't we also, we need to do something even different from that. We need to integrate it with like the stuff that Adaptavist is already using, like Okta or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
that is.
that will be a whole other ass thing.
Which John Mort said it should be not as hard as maybe we think.
but also,
it is.
it's John Mort.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're not John Mort.
Yeah, we're not John Mort.
Like, I'm sure, John, it is very easy and simple for you,
but we
for
are us. So
maybe not.
yeah.
Yeah. So I guess all that to say is we're having trouble with a step before like even where we need to go.
Yeah.
Ultimately. So
Yeah.
Right.
that's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's definitely a solvable problem. We just have to spend more time.
We have to solve it.
and read more shitty.
Yeah, we just have to solve
Yeah, we
it.
got to read more shitty Amazon docs.
Oh,
probably.
yeah.
More AWS docs.
They're not fun to read.
Yeah.
They're just so confusing, and a lot of them seem like they're out of date.
Oh,
I think that's the problem is, they just don't seem to update the docs.
It's like,
enough.
you got this $1 trillion company. You can't-
Yeah.
Yeah, could
Probably
you
make the
throw a
docs
few dollars
better.
over there, maybe?
Maybe
Like,
get some tech writers.
maybe get some tech writers. Who's writing these docs?
Yeah, those look like docs. Those look like the docs that we had before we had technical writers writing our docs.
Oh, and ours were kind of bad before.
Yeah. So if Amazon's listening, I'm happy to consult for a very small fee.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
only,
small fee
a
of
couple
$1 million.
thousand.
Yeah.
A very small fee of,
Well,
$1
small
million.
to them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a drop in the bucket. You know?
But in general, I would say that's what didn't go well for me as well. Like the single sign-on stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that was probably maybe the main struggle that we had. I don't know if anyone else has anything else that they felt didn't go that great or.
Well, yeah, nothing really went wrong with the stakeholder interviews. I thought those went really well. And yeah, the whiteboarding was good.
Yeah.
I guess what didn't go well is our drawing skills haven't improved. And so that's definitely making things a little more difficult because, well, that's just how it's going to. We're developers.
Yeah,
Not
and I guess there was
artists.
the theming stuff that Jenna mentioned before.
Yeah.
That also related partially to like the docs and stuff being a little difficult though.
Right. A lot of trouble with just like docs and,
And
things
AWS.
and reading and I hate.
You know, in that stakeholder interview, at a point, we got advice from John Mort to perhaps venture away from AWS
He did say
and
Yeah.
use something else. And
But that would be a whole.
it would. But I'm just
I-
saying, maybe this is a part of why.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, that's good. So it kind of seems like a lot more went well than went bad.
It was a-
Yeah,
month.
it was a good sprint.
Yeah.
So
Also, I will say that like the stuff that I was having trouble with, now that it's figured out, it's like done. Like it's not going to be a problem again.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's very good. So we have spent quite a bit of time on the retro, but real quick, I do want to talk about what we think that we might be able to do differently, or might be beneficial to do differently this coming sprint
That's tough.
/ in the future.
Like, in terms of. It's kind of hard because if we didn't have a lot go wrong, I mean, one of
Right.
the things we could do differently is we could look at alternatives to AWS. We're
But-
not that far in, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's-
I mean, we're
if there
not-
were a time to do it,
It's tricky. I feel like people have these conversations like when they're having a startup or a new app, and it's like they start with one technology, and they're like, "Are we too deep
we're
into
too
this
deep, yeah.
to try something
Yeah.
else?" And I don't know. I don't know what the right call is. I don't know if it's at this point it's worth sort of going back and changing it, or we just keep pressing on.
I mean, here's my opinion.
It's tricky.
Is that it's hard right now as we're trying to, get these initial things in place, like, single sign-on and things like that. But I feel like once we get past those, like, humps, like, especially, like, figuring out, like, single sign-on and authentication and users and stuff like that, I really do think that things will be a lot smoother from there once we're not trying to set all this initial stuff up. So I could be wrong, but I don't think that we're going to continue having these same bumps in the road.
Yeah.
yeah, part of me wonders if we're just struggling with it, for one, because it's mostly new. And also, well, it is true, AWS has problems. That is true. The UI sucks. The documentation sucks. It has problems. But also, it might just be like, these are things that are annoying to us currently, but not things that are worth re-architecting everything.
Right.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
like we're never gonna have to do a lot of this stuff again. I mean, we may have to tweak some
Hopefully.
of this stuff again, but I mean, hopefully. But like,
Yeah.
ideally, we're not gonna have to like reconfigure all of this, stuff for
I'm just imagining a future scenario, like what you said about we'll never have to touch this again.
I know. I
This
shouldn't have
is
said that. I
recorded.
gotta knock on wood.
And then like this is actually a product, and like 5 years from now, some disgruntled engineer listens to this podcast.
Like,
and
what
they're
the
like,
fuck?
They're like, yeah,
these
right.
People were stupid.
These fucking people.
You're saying that's going to happen in the future. Probably people listening to this right now are already thinking that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
They're like, just turn back. It's like people
turn
watching
back
a
now.
horror movie and
Yeah.
watching
They're
it
like, they were so
unfold.
stupid. How
It's
could
like,
they not?
Why would you
What?
do that?
Why would they make that decision?
All the warnings were there.
Yeah, all the warning signs were there, and we just ignored.
We're gonna
all of
ignore
them.
every one of them.
Yeah,
Proudly.
we're gonna ignore every one of them. Hate to say it, but that's how it is. Well, cool. Wow, thank you guys. I feel like we really hashed it out. The whole retro.
And
Yeah.
decided to ignore all of the warning signs.
Yes, and we decided to ignore all of the warning signs.
Yeah.
What should we do
Indeed.
differently?
Keep ignoring.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Keep ignoring warning signs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ignore warning signs and just full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, so now it is time for the cocktail segment. So Jenna,
All of my ice is
well,
melted.
actually, yeah. Don't let us. We'll take a few sips, and then Jenna can talk about it
Well,
after we've.
can you
given her-
reintroduce the name real quick?
Yeah, that's
What was
true.
this again?
It is the Apple Mimosa, and I hope you enjoy it.
I'll try not to
Mimosa.
slurp too close to the microphone.
Mm.
Ooh, very light.
Very light.
And is this
Very,
the
very summery.
Is this the baby apple juice?
Mott's
it
for
is
tots?
The Mott's apple juice that was in the fridge. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know.
Which I think is
That is
Mott's
the
for
baby apple
tots.
juice. Yeah.
Not sponsored.
Light on the sweetness, not
Yeah.
too much, not too overwhelming.
Very crisp.
Very
Yeah.
crisp.
I'm getting the fall apple from the tree, but also the summery, light refreshingness.
I mean, yeah, just ask me how refreshed I feel right
How
now.
refreshed.
How
you
refreshed.
feel.
Oh my god, I feel so refreshed.
I can just
Really?
tell.
A breeze
Your
is
skin
going through my hair.
glowing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, that's
Amazing.
normal, but thank
Wow,
you.
true.
You still look kind of tired though. But
Yeah, well, that's also normal.
Skin glowing, a little tired.
I did get, I think, 5.5 hours of sleep yesterday.
Oh shit.
We have people from out of town, and we watched Mad Max Fury Road because for whatever reason, one of them hasn't seen it, and it came out in like 2015.
Oh,
They've been
yeah,
waiting
yeah.
7 years, I guess. I don't know.
They've been waiting.
Yeah,
I like.
well,
I like
they've been
the. I like the phrasing of that. Like they've been waiting for just
For this moment.
For this moment.
Well,
to watch it.
they've been putting it off for 7 years. Maybe it's more that. But
I see.
so we stayed up later than maybe I would have preferred, but
But this will bring you
Did
right
they
back.
enjoy
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
they did. They did
Good.
enjoy it. That movie is just
Fury
like
Road is cool.
yeah, it's just like nonstop from the beginning. It just moves and keeps moving, and then there are some quiet parts. This is not a movie podcast, but there are some parts where then it's really quiet and it's like a nice break from everything, and it's kind of I don't know. It's good.
Our product is kind of Fury Road.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Full
Ex-
speed ahead.
It's
except-
like a 1950s car with a bunch of shit piled on top of it.
Yeah, literally.
It breathes flame.
all the tech debt just like piled on top, just like flailing
Our
everywhere.
product just started and it's already a wasteland. It's
Yeah.
disaster. We're saying that it's really not that bad.
No.
It's not that bad.
I would
It'll be
say it's pretty clean. I mean, you got prettier
far.
put in place pretty
Yeah.
early. Like
Yeah, you can't even do your stupid spacing thing.
oh my
Yeah, that was
God.
one of the first things that we
Don't
did.
even. We like brackets in different places, and that's just how it is.
Well, prettier doesn't agree, so. all I
You
gotta say.
configure prettier. That's you choose.
But, I mean, yeah, but. So Jenna, what are all of the ingredients?
So the cocktail has champagne and Mott's apple juice and just a little bit of lemon juice in it.
Ooh, a little
is that
lemon
what I'm
juice.
tasting?
Actually, I'm getting some notes of
little
some
acid.
citrus, a little acid.
And that
a
is all.
little.
It's pretty simple.
Wow.
Will it get us drunk?
I mean, it's like half champagne, so maybe a little bit.
And is this the champagne from when you visited France?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yes.
It's the champagne that's been in the office for I don't know how long since I got hired.
Oh, so it's aged.
Oh,
yeah.
it's actually
Nice.
aged.
Extra
champagne.
aged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can taste the age, honestly.
Office aged champagnes are really rare.
Yeah.
You've heard of cellar aged or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about alcohol.
We probably could have sold that bottle for quite a bit.
If I had to guess, I think the listeners would be jealous that they don't have office dusty champagne.
I know. I think
Yeah,
they
that's-
are. You guys are jealous, aren't you?
They can. There's a camera. They can see you're not looking at anybody.
No, I'm looking at the camera.
I thought you were looking out.
No. No, I was not. Which, you know what's funny? Earlier, a UPS guy tried to come in. Maybe the viewers caught that. I don't know. But he like peeked in and he was like, oh,
nope.
just kidding. But yeah, wow. Well,
This
Jenna,
is good.
I think it's really good.
It's also getting better as I go down further because I think the ice had melted and there was just kind of
Yeah,
a
so it was
layer
a
of
little
water
watery on
Yeah.
top. But
I mean, I don't want to cause drama, but
Are you gonna bring up the last cocktail?
is this cocktail better than the last one? Are we thinking that?
No.
Well, so Tiffany made the last cocktail.
spicy grape surprise.
Yeah, and I will say I'll finish this one.
Yeah. I think the last one gets big points for
Creativity.
creativity
It was very
and
creative.
naming, but this definitely is drinkable.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree that this is definitely better.
Well, and I will say, as far as the theme goes, which maybe we didn't explain, you have to the idea.
Oh,
of
I
this
forgot about
segment,
that, yeah.
the idea of this segment is that the cocktail that you create has to be made with whatever base alcohol you choose, but then the rest of it is ingredients from the office. And as far as that goes for the theme, yours hit the theme right on the
Oh,
money.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like you
Yeah.
used the full spectrum of options.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there were quite a few ingredients, and
Hot
yet
sauce.
it tasted so like nothing.
It mostly tasted like watered down grape Gatorade. I feel
Yeah,
like.
even though like I used like 5 or 6 ingredients in it, but I guess I just the proportions were not quite there.
Yeah.
So
I will
don't
say
know.
none of these drinks have been particularly strong, which maybe that's good, maybe that's bad.
I was afraid that when I was making mine, it was going to be too strong because I didn't really measure anything. But then
Right.
it turned out to be like you couldn't taste the alcohol at all. So
Pretty sure the jelly absorbed it all.
yeah, the jelly
Sucked it
probably
all in.
absorbed it all. It just all fell to the
would've
bottom.
been fucked up if we ate that jelly. Imagine that peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Imagine that.
Ooh, somebody
Imagine
should
that.
do that.
Yeah, somebody should.
PB&J, that gets you lit.
I also think that next time, whoever does the cocktail next episode,
Should
they
we
should make it a
choose?
little boozier.
Oh.
Should we choose who goes next?
Yeah, we could choose right now, and then they can't back out because
Because it's in recording.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's me or Josh.
yeah.
You want
Aiden
rock
or
paper
I.
scissors?
Okay, rock paper scissors right
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Don't hit anything. All right.
But
rock paper scissors. Oh shit.
Okay, well, I'll go.
shoot or
Okay, rock paper scissors shoot.
Okay. All right. Shoot. All right.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Rock paper scissors shoot. Well, you did the same one as you were gonna.
Okay,
last
looks
time.
like you won.
Yeah.
So
So it looks like you next.
looks like I'm next.
But you know what? I'm looking forward to it.
Wait, why am I surprisingly bad at rock paper scissors?
Surprisingly bad.
You kind of telegraphed the move you were gonna make because you did it, and then we
Yeah.
restarted, and,
And
you
then
did
you-
the same one.
I think you just got a little nervous.
I have performance anxiety.
Yeah. You know what? And there's nothing wrong with that.
it's
It
okay.
happens.
I think they make pills for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, maybe that was a little too juicy.
Editors. Okay. Well, I think that's it for the cocktail segment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good cocktail, Jenna.
Yeah. So, I did have, before we close out, a little something that I wanted to bring up.
Speaking of juice.
Speaking of juice, so it might be a little juicy, might be a little controversial, perhaps. So I saw this on the internet.
The interweb,
And-
the WWs.
And an opinion, software engineering opinion, and this opinion states most comments in code are in fact a pernicious form of code duplication.
Oh, so it's an incorrect opinion.
Yeah, so we all know what Aiden thinks of this, but essentially, like, what do you guys think of this? Like, what is your opinion? What place do comments have in the code base?
I think there's a spectrum of people who like on one side, people are like, never comment. The code will always explain it. There's those type of people. Then there's people who are like, let's comment everything. Every single method, every single line needs a comment. I think I'm closer to the side of comments are generally not that useful. I'm closer to that side. But I wouldn't say I'm like, so firmly against comments. In my experience, it depends on who's writing the comment. So
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, some people are not good comment writers.
Who are you
okay,
talking about,
just
Josh?
some people. Okay,
Some people.
and sometimes the comments are not necessary or generally just not helpful because oftentimes if the comment is describing a large piece of code, I find probably the piece of code has changed over time and people forget to change the comments. Mm-hmm. So it's explaining something that isn't even there anymore, which is sort of doubly sort of confusing.
Yeah.
But so if you sort of go further, like beyond what a comment is, you go to sort of like readmes and things like that, larger blocks of comments, you'll probably see those on like interfaces or like class descriptions. I think those can be really useful because those things are less likely to be changed frequently. And
the arguments, so I started off with a pretty strong take, but it is more, I don't just think, there is a place for comments and there is a place that comments should not be. And there's one argument against comments that I actually think is the best argument. And that argument is, if you're writing a comment to explain your code, then potentially the real problem there is that you need more readable code.
Right.
Which I agree with that. I think people should be pushing for the most readable code possible. But I will also say that I've benefited a lot before from existing comments, especially comments that document like what classes and methods purposes are. So there have been multiple times where, I'm using a different API, like maybe the Atlassian Confluence API, and I know there's you're going through a class that has all of these methods in it and you're trying to find the one you want, and all of them are kind of similarly named.
Yeah.
And maybe for them that's an issue of, they didn't name them distinctly enough, and so that's not readable code. And, whatever, if that is the case, maybe they need to fix that. But also, it has saved me before where if I read through the comments then that describe what those methods are doing, I end up learning more about the code and finding out things about it that I didn't know before that are actually useful. And sometimes comments, some people will even put, tickets or links to tickets or certain issues and stuff like that in their comments that have then led me to discover why a bug is happening or why something is going wrong that I think shouldn't be. And it provides a good explanation for those things.
Yeah, I think I have a very similar opinion to you because, like Josh said, I do think that people can go overboard with comments, and I think that sometimes if comments are too broad or covering too large amount of code at once, then it's pretty susceptible to becoming irrelevant. But the thing with me is just a month or two ago, I fixed a bug. It took me within a day or something because of a comment that was in the code. And the comment was essentially explaining, it said, refresh UI. We always need to do this because the key may change, which obviously I can't, sit here and give all the context, but basically it was not by the code that is not apparent. I don't know how long it would have taken me to understand that is what that piece of code was doing, that it was refreshing the UI, unless that comment was there. And it probably would have taken me days, honestly, to figure that out and kind of track down what was going on with the bug. But then I saw oh, okay, so the UI needs to be refreshed. It's doing that here. Oh, but it's not doing that in this spot where it needs to.
Right.
And because of that single comment, I was able to instantly get the solution and fix that bug. So that is just one example of how a comment has helped me tremendously. But I will also say that comment is literally, it's a comment that's explaining one line of code.
Right.
Not I don't know, not a whole bunch, not just a general comment about it was for one line explaining what this one line is doing. And then if somebody changes that line, hopefully they will also change the comment. I think that's another thing about this is that people are always complaining, well, the comment eventually becomes irrelevant as people change the code. And it's like, well, what if we, made a commitment to update the comments as we updated the code? I don't know.
That's like, the thing. I think what people don't realize is that writing code comments is a skill. Like, that is something you have to practice and something you have to commit to. And if you don't, and if it's inconsistent, then it will be bad. But I also think, to the point of the article, what's the title like? That it's code duplication.
Most comments in code are, in fact, a pernicious form of code duplication.
And
yes.
That may be true, but I'm also not entirely sure if that's a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, maybe it's taking extra time to write the comment and maintain the comment, but at the same time, code, almost by its very nature, is not human readable, and it's not really supposed to be. I mean, you're supposed to understand what's happening, but you're giving commands to a computer.
Well, I actually compile code in my head.
Oh, right.
Yeah, me too. I actually
Yeah.
dream in code. So.
Yeah, so you may not be able to do that, but I can.
And there are languages that have a lot more human readable code that kind of, are like sentences when you write out the code. But, not what we use. And I think comments and being good at writing comments can be helpful in understanding what it is you're working on. And I do take a very strict comment everything approach when I'm trying to teach somebody something with a block of code. Like, one of the things we used to do all the time is we would write scripts for people, and I will comment every single line of code, so that way, because when we're writing a script for somebody, it's because they don't know how to write a script.
Right.
They don't know how to code. They just need help doing this thing in our product. And I'm like,
Right.
okay. And so to make sure that somebody understands what's happening with each line, I'll describe what is going on in that line with a code comment. But that's kind of a very specific situation when you're like helping a customer. But I will comment everything in that case.
But yeah, back to your point on how, some people would say, well, you should be able to just like read the code and like understand what it's doing. But it's like, especially with like, I would say a lot of front end stuff, and like when you have like Redux involved and stuff like that, like there is nothing in this line of code that says to me like, oh, this is refreshing the UI. And like, yes, like I could like look into it and kind of like trace it back. But this particular line of code that I'm talking about, that I needed to know that it was like refreshing the UI, it's just dispatching an action. And the stuff that like is being dispatched, it's just not clear that that's what it's doing. And like a comment was so helpful like in that case, because it's like, yeah, I don't know, you're not always just going to be able to just look at it and tell. And
Right.
I think that, that's just the case.
Yeah, I think the people who are always like, all the code should just be readable, it should just be immediately obvious what it's doing. It's like, okay, that's nice, but
In an ideal world.
like the reality is, if you're working on any sort of significant code base, especially like the one that we're working on, it's like probably like 8 years old at this point. Like 20 different engineers have touched it.
Yeah, that's some real Mad Max shit.
Like, it would be great if everything was just immediately obvious. What a perfect world that would be. But that's not really the world we live in. So I feel like that's a sort of a silly position to take.
Yeah.
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 If you have a perfect code base, you've probably never shipped it to anyone. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Because you've never got it out the door, because your project will never be perfect.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we have jobs still.
Yeah, literally. I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Well, Jenna, you haven't said anything. What's your hot take?
Haven't. I don't know. I guess I would say that I think that most comments that I see aren't necessary, but there's like those certain ones that are, like what Tiffany was saying with the one that like helped her fix a bug. And I do think that comments that are like helping people that are new to coding learn how to program are really helpful. So like certain situations, they're necessary, but most of the time I don't like them.
I'm just realizing that I only heard the header of that article. It is possible that in the rest of it, all of this nuance is gone through. And I haven't read a single bit of
So
that
it's not a
article.
whole article. I can just read it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just like a quick opinion that this guy has explaining this.
Oh, well, fuck them.
Wow. I can read it.
How long is it?
Few sentences.
Go for
We
it.
spend most of our time maintaining code written by others or ourselves, and poor, incorrect, outdated, misleading comments must be near the top of the list of most annoying artifacts in code. I think eventually many people just blank them out, especially those flower box monstrosities.
What?
Wait,
What's that?
I don't know. Interesting. I don't know what that means, but
okay.
much better to concentrate on making the code readable, refactoring is necessary, and minimizing idioms and quirkiness. On the other hand, many courses teach that comments are very nearly more important than the code itself, leading to this next line adds 1 to invoice total style of commenting. What?
I don't know. It
Leading
sounds like
to
that guy might just be
this,
bad
the
at
next
writing
line.
comments.
Yeah. I know, yeah. So, no, there's not a ton of nuance in there. I don't know. That's just kind of what he
Well,
thinks.
then I feel less bad about my hot take.
I thought
Yeah.
it was interesting in that he says make the code less idiomatic to reduce the number of idioms that you're using in your coding style. That's interesting.
Huh.
I would not. I
That
don't
is
think I
a
would.
take.
I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't take that position.
I know. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe just bad take. I don't know.
Oh, maybe we should get this person on the podcast.
I know, maybe.
No, let's not. Let's not.
I think sometimes there's just like certain quirky things that you have to do that like a comment is good to explain to
Right.
anybody else that might be working on that later also.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Cool. Well, that was a nice, good little discussion.
Well, a little bit of drama. Oh my god.
Yeah, a little bit. Wow, that was so controversial.
Oh my god.
We almost punched each other. I was getting so mad.
Should we do guns and religion next?
Yeah. Yeah, next episode, guns and religion. Guns, politics, religion.
That's the whole podcast.
Yes.
we're gonna need stronger cocktails for that.
Yes, which actually this does lead into our last segment before we close out, what we're up to next.
Shit.
I think we're gonna be doing more implementation of our system design.
Yeah.
Still trying to get our single sign-on worked out. I imagine our visible front-facing UI won't be changing much in the next
Probably
sprint.
not.
And it's not going to look good. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like just for now, it's not supposed to look
Right,
good.
it's not supposed
Yeah.
to look good yet. We can work on that later, but yeah, we're getting a lot of things behind the scenes in
Yeah.
place. And stuff
Again,
like
it's just
that.
we're just so smart that we know we can't focus on the design right now.
Yeah, true.
It's a conscious choice we're making as just amazing engineers.
Yeah.
All
our
of the
big-
choices we've made have been conscious.
Yes, very conscious, very aware.
We
Our-
haven't just been copying things that we do in our other code base.
Oh, no. These have been
No.
all like new original ideas
Right,
that
yeah,
we've been
yeah,
itching
yeah.
to implement with our big
I mean,
juicy brains.
most of them kind of are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They don't use Material UI.
Yeah.
Script running.
That's true. They don't. They really don't.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And we're
Yeah.
going to do hella whiteboarding, I think.
Yeah.
Because we'll have to go back through this process probably for every single
Oh yeah.
big new thing that we add.
I feel like this upcoming sprint will be more grindy, and then the one after
Yeah.
that will be more like it's gonna look cool, it's gonna
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
things, but
Yeah.
we're just like laying the foundation right now.
Right, exactly. And I am looking forward to that. And hopefully we get the single sign-on stuff figured out. And then we can like create users and stuff like that. And I think that'll be really cool to actually have users and kind of get all that stuff going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is really starting to take shape.
Yeah, but we have our best engineers working on it.
Us.
We do. We have our best engineers.
Us.
We're the only
Which is,
engineers.
So the best one.
So,
yeah, the best ones
yeah,
with the
yeah.
biggest, juiciest brains. You know how it is. But cool. Wow.
And honestly, not to spoil anything for the future, but I hope we can find a guest for the third episode of this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
I hope we
Hopefully.
can.
That would be cool.
And I think that would be really fun. It'll probably be hard to figure out, but I think we should try, and I'm excited for that.
So there is a lot of people in London. So what if we just expensed a ticket?
And took all this with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Went over there.
I don't think the business would mind if we just expense 4 plane tickets. would
No,
they?
oh,
probably
yeah.
not.
No, they'd be cool with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We don't need to get approval for that. That's
Nah.
probably chill.
Nah.
They got
If you-
money.
If you have a podcast, you're important. So.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
exactly. So, little expense here, little expense there. Nothing wrong with
Whatever.
it. Nothing wrong with it. But wow, yeah, cool. Wow. I am excited for the next sprint. And I don't know. I think that's pretty much it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah, especially if you tuned into 2 episodes.
2 episodes,
Oh my
and you
God.
made it through the whole thing. I think I said this last time too, but I was like, if
Well,
you made
it'll
it
be
to
your
this
thing
point,
from now on. It'll be your thing.
Look, yeah, because it's true. If you made it to this point, thank you so much.
Super
Amazing.
fans, our super
Hugs and
fans.
kisses.
Yeah, our super fans. Mwah, mwah.
Thanks so much for
Kisses.
listening.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you next month.
Peace.
Goodbye. Goodbye.